Hi guys, Samantha from JSMO Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create a tie-dye effect on polymer clay. So first thing you're going to need is my tie-dye silkscreen. This makes the process a lot easier because it gives you the correct pattern. And then I want you to choose whether you want either of the two patterns. This one is going to give you more white and less colour. This one will give you more colour and less white. So I put those to the side. And now I've got some alcohol inks. I've got the names of them in the supplies, but I've basically got an orange, yellow, green, pink and blue. And so any brand will work. Just make sure that you have those colours. Okay. And I'm also going to use some alcohol blending solution. You can use isopropyl alcohol as well if you want. And I'm just going to drop some of that on here so our alcohol ink blends in. Just going to move that around. Okay, and I've just put on a glove because I want to be swirling these with my hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a blue right in the centre, green pretty close next to it, then a yellow, an orange, and I'll see if I can fit the pink later. For now. Okay, and I'm just going to rub that off. We just kind of want a swirling pattern. Okay. This is why I wanted the blending solution, because it will help this all blend together better. And just make sure that you periodically just wipe off your gloves. And I'm just going to apply the pink to the edges. Okay, just dab that around. Wipe off the gloves again. Pop on some orange again. Gonna dab that around the edges. Wipe off. On the white, or not white, yellow. Tap that around. Green. And you can use less colours than me if you want. That is completely up to you. It really is up to you how you do this. Go have a look at other tie-dyes and see which ones you like. Okay, then I'm going to leave that to dry. That should take, I'd say maybe around 10 minutes to dry. So leave it for about 10 minutes and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, then once you've left it for a little while, just take a piece of paper and just go over and burnish the top. And this is mainly just so we can soak up any leftover ink puddles. So you can see, because we don't want that getting on our silk screen. Okay, and then the next step is going to be to go back over that with the ink and repeat the process so that we get the colours to blend together a little bit more. Then you're going to let it dry, and then you're going to do the paper again, and then at that point we'll use the silk screen. So you can skip ahead if you want. I'm going to start with the blue, and I'm not using blending solution this time round because I don't want it to run. So blending solution you use the first time round, but the you don't use it the second time. I might bring over that blue again. Ooh, that was a little bit much. Let me just quickly soak some of that up. Okay, so I'll just continue doing this. Okay, and that was just to deepen the colours. Now it might look a little bit scruffy at the moment, but that's fine. Now I'm going to bring over the paper and I'm going to give it a really good burnish. And then through the paper I want you to take some isopropyl alcohol and I want you to spray. And this will lift the ink a bit and help it to blend. Over another piece while that is still wet. Okay, and there we go, that's better. So it's also helped intensify the colours, but it's also helped blend it together a bit. Okay, so I'm just going to lift that up because I would like to clean my tile. Another thing I want you to notice is that it is quite dry. There's no shine to that, and that's because of the isopropyl alcohol. And that's quite important for the silkscreen because we don't want it to pick up any of the alcohol ink that would stain it. But also even more important is because we're going to be putting white paint on here. And the wetter the ink, the more the ink will seep into the paint, discolouring it. So that's something to keep in mind. So I'm going to put that to the side and I'm going to clean up my tile. There we go. Bring this over. You can see there's no ink coming up there. Okay, so I can bring over the silk screen. You should be able to just peel it off. Okay, and I'm gonna go. Let's see. Do I want it? I'm gonna go for this one. I like this one the best. So let's see. Whereabouts do I want a silk screen? There. And I'm going to smooth this down. And the nice thing is that because the clay is quite dry, normal silk screens that don't have a sticky back would slide a bit. This one has a little bit of a sticky back, so it's going to help us stick it down. Actually, I want to peel that up and I want to put it closer to the top. There we go, like that. Just smooth that onto the surface, like so. Then I'm going to be using white paint. I'm going to pop that along the bottom. Okay. And I'll just swipe that across. Okay, and I only put a little bit of paint on because I don't want big goopy bits. Okay, and we'll lift that up. Okay, go clean your silk screen. Okay, then once that paint has dried, you want to be moving really quickly because I'm not sure if you can see already, but up here where the pink is, we've already got some discoloration of the paint, which is fine. I do want discoloration to a certain degree, but only to a certain degree. So the sooner you bake it, the sooner that's going to stop. So I'm going to use my barley cutter set. I'm just working quickly now. There we go. And just bake these as soon as physically possible. Okay, there we go. Then pop those into the oven. bake them for about half an hour at pre-measured recommended temperature, and then we can do the backs. Okay, and there we go. That's how they look once they're baked. So you can see with this one over here, I managed to get a donut out of the little bit that was left at the top. And you can also see that the colours have dulled a little bit. That's completely normal. So now we're going to prepare veneer for the back. So this can be an alternative to the previous way that we did the tie-dye effect. So I've got a piece of white again. And this time we are going to start immediately with the silk screen. Okay, and this time I am going to be using the other one. That being the one that lets through a lot of colour. Or a lot of paint anyway. Okay, and I'm going to be using black this time around, and we are also going to be using pastels instead of alcohol ink. So I'll just put the paint down, swipe that across, make sure I get everywhere. Up, and then go clean that. Okay, then once that is done, you want to make sure that it is completely dry, and then we are going to be putting pastels onto it. Okay, so I'm going to be working with very similar colours. Actually no, I'm not going to be working with similar colours to last time. I'm going to be working with a range of blues and some purples. Okay, I'm going to start by scraping. Now if you're using white paint, I would advise putting the silk screen on first, because the pastels will show through quite a bit if you put them on top of the white paint. However, because we're using black and I do want to blend the colours into the paint a little bit, I am going to be putting the pastels on top of the black paint. But again, as I said, if you're using white paint, put the pastels on first. Okay, and the pastels can actually be easier to manipulate as far as colour goes. So that's something to keep in mind. So I've got a little bit of a more pinkish colour here. Alright, and there we go. Clean off your hands, and I'm actually going to use my finger to go around. Now don't worry, there's a lot of excess pastel on here that is going to get brushed off. Blowing to get rid of some of that. Okay, and then just continue rubbing, because it will rub it off of that black. I'm actually just going to clean off my finger so that we get rid of some of that extra pastel. And you're burnishing it into the clay as well. Also keep in mind that the pastels do dull once they have been baked. So these colours are not going to be quite as strong as they are right now later on. Now I'm just going to bring over a tissue, and I'm going to use it to gently rub over the surface, and this will remove a lot of excess pastels, and it will also lighten up the colours a fair bit. Now I don't want to lighten it too much, because again, as I said, it will dull, but I want to do it enough that I can see that black pretty easily. Okay, and there we go. So I'm pretty happy with that. So now I am going to just lift this up. So that's another way that you can do it if you don't happen to have alcohol inks, or if you just personally prefer this effect. Or you can use both, like I am, which creates a nice mix and allows you to do a double-sided project. So I'm just going to clean off my blade, there we go. And I'll just trim this like so. And I'm going to flip, and I'm going to apply a little bit of liquid clay, and this is just some translucent liquid clay. And just run that over the surface just to give it a little bit of extra stick. Okay, then I'm just going to grab these and I'm going to try to get them in the middle. Because I want this to be a double-sided piece. And this one I'll just put a black clay backing on. But for these ones I wanted a nice double-sided effect. Okay, and just press them in. Okay, and then you can use the cutters if you want, but I generally prefer to use a blade just because I find I have more control. And what I'll do is I'll trim each one separately. So just cut them all separate just cut them so they're all separate from one another. Trust me, it makes the process a lot easier. Okay, just going to put those to the side and we'll work with this one. Now I highly recommend pressing down on it while you're working. Then trim away small bits at a time, and we still need to sand the edges. Okay, there we go. Repeat with the others. Okay, and there we go. So now we are going to pop those into the oven for 40 minutes at Primrose recommended temperature. And when we're done, we're going to give the sides a thorough sand, because you can see they're quite untidy and need to be sanded. But after that, we're going to give them a sand, then we're going to seal them and finish them off. Okay, so now that they are out of the oven, we're just going to bring over some sandpaper. And we're just going to give the sides a sand. And I'm only using a 400 grit. We're just doing this to clean up the sides. And it shouldn't take too long. So you can see there, it cleans up very quickly. Okay, there you can see that side versus that side. So just sand all the sides, clean them off, dry them, and then after that we're going to seal them. Okay, so there you can see the sides are nice and clean. And here is how it looks. Okay, and this one we did not have enough space for the back, so I took the leftovers from this, kind of marbled it together, and this is what it created. So now I'm actually going to drill them before I seal them, just because I don't want to get fingerprints on the varnish. So let me bring over my drill. Put that to the side. Just going to make a little mark. I actually think I'm going to do this by hand just because I'll have more control, even though this is a push drill. Just because these pieces are fairly thin, and so it's easy to make a mistake. If you have trouble drilling the sides of pieces like this, make your pieces a little bit thicker, as it will make it easier for you to drill them. So I'm just drilling to a certain degree on one side, then I'm going back to the other and drilling, and then I continue doing this until I meet up, and that helps me make sure that I get a nice straight line and that I don't get it skew and accidentally come too close to the faces on either side. So there we go, almost done. And there we meet up. And there you can see, nice clean hole. So repeat that with all of them. Okay, and there we go. So now what we're going to do is, if you have a look here, there isn't really anything coming off. And the reason for that is because we did so much burnishing and we were rubbing off all the excess powder earlier before we baked it. And the paint is thoroughly baked on. You're going to have to be really rough and abusive with this to actually get the paint to come off, because it is baked onto the clay. So I'm going to be finishing it off with a little bit of Renaissance wax, because I don't think we're going to need to seal it, and I also want to give it a matte finish. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of wax on. I am not going to buff it. This will just bring out the colour a little bit. And as you can see, nothing's coming off. So just repeat with all of them. Okay. So the next thing is going to be bring over a piece of wire, and I've just popped this onto the end to help me keep the pieces in place. I am going to be chopping it off a little bit later on. Put that out of the way. So I'm just going to arrange these so that I know which way they're supposed to go. And I wonder if you can hear the rain, because it's quite rainy outside. So I've just got these nice little wooden beads. I thought that they would match both sides quite nicely. And so I'm just going to continue to string these on, and just bear with me for a moment. I want to show you what I do afterwards. And you can use any beads you want, of course. I'm just using these essentially as spacers, but I will be stringing them onto the rest of the cord, most likely. There we go. So let's see, do I want to keep it like that? No, I think I want to string them onto the rest. So what you'll do is you will just chop off this end. There we go. And I'm working with a pre-made cord, so if you, or not pre-made, but I made it a while ago in a previous project, so if you don't have one that's already been made that you're recycling, then just don't put anything onto the one end. But I was just keeping it there to prevent those pieces from falling off while I was working with them. And I'm just going to string these pieces all the way up to about here, and I'll do the same on the other side, and then we will finish it off. Okay, there we go. So now I'll bring over 2 cord ends, and of course 2 crimps. Okay, and you've got to be careful because you can accidentally get the beads to spill off. Just going to put the cord end on, then put on a crimp, squish that closed, squish that over the top, then slide these down. Okay, and I'm going to just get rid of that end. There we go. And we're going to slide that last crimp on. It's a little bit fiddly. go. And then close that clasp over the top, and I'm just going to clip away that excess bit. Okay. Once that's done, we are going to take a jump ring for each end, open it up, pop on one end of your clasp, close up, repeat for the other side. And there we go, that's about it, very easy. Okay, and now it is completely reversible as well. So that's that end with the pastels, and that's it, that end. Personally I prefer this one because it is lighter, but I wanted to show you both types. Of course with the pastels, if you wanted it to be lighter like this one, but with the black you could always use different colours. It doesn't necessarily have to be these really dark blues, but I thought that looked nice as well. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, please do let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.